"It's just pixels, Judge. It's not real. None of this is real." Those were the words of 19-year-old Julian Thorne, spoken with a lazy smirk that suggested he was watching a boring movie rather than standing trial for a crime that ruined a man's reputation. He stood in the center of the courtroom, dressed in a hoodie that cost more than the bailiff's annual salary, checking his notifications while the prosecutor read the charges. To Julian, the law was outdated code, something to be hacked, bypassed, or deleted. He believed that because his father, Marcus Thorne, built the platforms the world runs on, his son was exempt from the rules that govern them. But Julian made a critical error in his calculation. He wasn't standing in front of a webcam or a comment section. He was standing in front of Judge Frank Caprio. And what Julian didn't know was that his own father had quietly entered the back of the courtroom moments before the session began, not to save him, but to witness whether his son was too far gone to be redeemed. What happens over the next 20 minutes is a collision between the digital world's arrogance and the real world's consequences. It is a story about the sanctity of truth, the weight of a badge, and the moment a father decides that loving his son means letting him fall. Before we witness this unprecedented showdown, a quick reminder. We are sharing these stories to shine a light on the corners of the justice system where character is tested. If you believe that truth still matters in an age of deception, and that no amount of money should buy an escape from accountability, please hit that subscribe button. Join our community. Now let's go to Providence, where a storm is brewing inside the courtroom. It is a gray, relentless Tuesday morning in Providence. The rain is hammering against the high windows of the municipal court, casting a dull metallic light over the wooden benches. Inside, the air is heavy. The radiator hisses in the corner, fighting the chill, but the temperature in the room seems to drop the moment the heavy oak doors swing open. Usually the court is filled with nervous chatter, people shuffling papers, checking watches, rehearsing their apologies for parking tickets. Today there is a strange, tense silence. The docket has been cleared for this specific hearing. The court officers are standing a little straighter. Officer Miller, a veteran of the force with 20 years of service, sits in the front row. He isn't in uniform today. He is wearing a suit, his posture rigid, his hands clasped tightly together until the knuckles are white. He looks like a man who hasn't slept in a week. At the defendant's table stands a team of 3 lawyers. They are sharp, efficient, and out of place in a municipal traffic court. They are whispering among themselves, arranging files, preparing for a siege. And then there is Julian. Julian Thorne, heir to the Thorne data empire, leans back in his chair, one leg crossed over the other. He isn't looking at the judge. He isn't looking at the officer he victimized. He is holding a sleek black smartphone, his thumb scrolling rhythmically. He let out a soft chuckle at something on his screen, the sound echoing awkwardly in the silent room. Judge Frank Caprio enters. The room rises. Caprio's face is unreadable, but his eyes are sharp behind his glasses. He takes his seat, adjusts his robe, and looks down at the file in front of him. He doesn't speak immediately. He lets the silence stretch, forcing the room to settle. He picks up his pen, taps it once against the desk, and looks directly at the young man who hasn't bothered to put his phone away. "Good morning," Caprio says, his voice calm but carrying that familiar weight of authority. "We are on the record. Put the device away, please." Julian doesn't look up immediately. He finishes typing a message, hits send, and then slowly slides the phone into his pocket. He stands up not out of respect, but because his lead attorney, Mr. Sterling, nudges him. "Morning, Frank," Julian says. The gasp in the courtroom is audible. Mr. Sterling closes his eyes briefly, pain flashing across his face. "That is your honor, or Judge Caprio," Sterling whispers harshly to his client. Julian shrugs. "Right, your honor, whatever." Judge Caprio stares at the young man. He has seen arrogance before. He has seen fear masked as bravado, but this is different. This is total detachment. "Mr. Sterling," Caprio says, shifting his gaze to the lawyer. "Your client seems to be under the impression that this is a social gathering. I would advise you to correct that notion before we proceed." "Yes, your honor, my apologies, Mr. Thorne is." "He is adjusting to the environment," Sterling stammers. "Adjust quickly," Caprio says. He turns to the clerk. "Read the charges." The clerk, a woman who has worked in this court for 15 years and has seen it all, stands up. Her voice trembles slightly, not from nerves, but from the sheer absurdity of what she is about to read. Case number 44B, City of Providence versus Julian Thorne. The defendant is charged with reckless driving, failure to stop for a police officer, disorderly conduct, and the creation and distribution of fraudulent digital evidence with intent to defame a public servant. The charges hang in the air. The reckless driving is standard, the failure to stop is serious, but the final charge, that is something new, that is something this court has never seen before. Judge Caprio opens the file. "Mr. Sterling, we have the police report here. It states that on October 14th, your client was clocked doing 85 in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. When Officer Miller attempted to initiate a traffic stop, your client not only refused to pull over for 3 miles but once stopped, proceeded to record the interaction. That is correct, Your Honor, Sterling says. We are prepared to plead guilty to the speeding and pay the maximum fine immediately. Hold on, Caprio raises a hand. We aren't there yet, the report continues. It says that following the interaction, a video was uploaded to a platform with 4 million followers. This video appeared to show Officer Miller using racial slurs, soliciting a bribe, and drawing his weapon on the defendant without cause. Caprio pauses, looking over his glasses at Officer Miller, who is staring at the floor, humiliated. However, Caprio continues, his voice hardening, forensic analysis of the body cam footage versus the uploaded video confirms that the video posted by your client was synthetically generated. It was a deepfake. The officer never said those words, he never drew his weapon. Is this accurate? Julian laughs, it's a short, sharp sound. It was a prank, Judge, Julian interrupts, ignoring his lawyer's hand on his arm. It's content. It's satire, everyone knows that. Judge Caprio sets his pen down slowly. Mr. Thorne, you created a video that made it look like this officer committed a felony. You destroyed his reputation in front of millions of people. And you call that a prank? It's art, Julian says, leaning forward on the railing. It's a commentary on the surveillance state. I used his image to create a narrative, it's protected speech. My dad's lawyer said. Your dad's lawyers are not the judge in this courtroom, Caprio cuts him off. The grandfatherly warmth is gone. Officer Miller, please step forward. Officer Miller stands up. He is a large man, but he looks diminished. He walks to the microphone, his hands shaking slightly. Officer Miller, Caprio says gently, tell us what happened after this video was posted. Miller clears his throat, Your Honor. I've been a cop for 20 years. I've never had a complaint, not one. When that video went live, within an hour my family was getting death threats. People were posting my home address. My daughter, she's 12. She came home crying because kids at school saw the video and called her dad a corrupt racist. Miller pauses, fighting back tears. He takes a breath. I was suspended pending investigation. Even though the department knew it was likely fake, protocol demanded I surrender my badge and gun until the forensics came back. For 2 weeks, I was a pariah in my own city. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't look my neighbors in the eye, all because this kid, this young man, wanted likes. The courtroom is dead silent. The reality of the damage is suffocating. Julian looks bored. He checks his watch. Okay, look, Julian says, interrupting the officer. I get it, it was intense, but the engagement numbers were insane. And once the truth came out, you got cleared, right? So no harm, no foul. It's just the internet, man. Don't take it so seriously. Judge Caprio stares at Julian. For a moment, he is speechless. The sheer lack of empathy is stunning. No harm, Caprio asks, his voice low. You terrorized a family. You undermined the public trust in this entire city's police force. And you think because the truth eventually came out, it doesn't matter. The truth is whatever gets the most views, Judge, Julian says with a shrug. That's the world we live in. You can't judge me by 1990s rules. I have the resources to fix this. How much does he want? 50 grand? 100? I can wire it right now. Let's just wrap this up. Julian reaches into his jacket pocket, presumably to pull out a checkbook or a phone to make a transfer. Sit down, Caprio barks. The sudden volume makes everyone jump. You will sit down and you will be silent until I tell you to speak. Julian blinks, surprised by the tone. He sits looking annoyed. Mr. Sterling, Caprio addresses the lawyer. Your client seems to believe that his father's bank account is a get-out-of-jail-free card. He seems to believe that he can purchase dignity after he has stolen it. Your Honor, Sterling wipes sweat from his forehead. My client is young. He has lived a very insulated life. We are asking for community service and a fine, we believe. I don't care what you believe right now, Caprio says. He looks toward the back of the courtroom. During the commotion, the figure in the back row has remained still. Now Judge Caprio addresses him. Sir, in the back row, you've been sitting there quietly. Please identify yourself. The man stands up. He is wearing a simple black suit, no tie. He looks tired. He looks like a man carrying the weight of the world. I'm Marcus Thorne, Your Honor, the man says. His voice is quiet, steady. Julian spins around in his chair. His eyes go wide. Dad, what are you doing here? I told the lawyers to handle it. Marcus Thorne ignores his son. He walks down the center aisle, passing the benches, passing the officer, until he stands next to the defense table. He doesn't look at Julian, he looks at Judge Caprio. Mr. Thorne, Caprio says, you are aware of what your son has done. I am, Marcus says. I watched the video, I read the comments. I saw the threats against Officer Miller's family. And Caprio asks, and I am ashamed, Marcus says. Julian scoffs. Dad, come on, don't do the moral high ground thing here. It's embarrassing. Just pay the fine so we can go. I have a stream at 2-0. Marcus turns slowly to face his son. The look in his eyes is not anger, it is something far worse, it is resignation. There is no stream at 2-0, Julian, Marcus says. What? I suspended your accounts this morning, Marcus says calmly. I contacted the platforms. As the owner of the parent company, I had them flagged for terms of service violations regarding the harassment of a public official. Your channels are gone, the archives are deleted. Julian stands up, his face turning red. You can't do that, that's my brand, that's millions of dollars of equity. It's poison, Marcus says, and I let you drink it for too long. Marcus turns back to the judge. Your Honor, my son expects me to pay his fine. He expects me to hire a crisis management team to spin this story. He expects to walk out of here and laugh about it over lunch. Marcus takes a deep breath. I am formally withdrawing the legal counsel I provided for him. Mr. Sterling looks stunned. Mr. Thorne, you can't. You're fired, Bob, Marcus says without looking at him. Go home. The three lawyers look at each other, pack their briefcases in record time, and walk out of the courtroom. Julian is left standing alone at the table. Dad, stop it, Julian's voice cracks. This isn't funny, I can't do this alone. Mr. Thorne, Judge Caprio leans forward. You are leaving your son without representation. He is an adult, Your Honor, Marcus says. He says he understands the world better than we do. He says he is a master of reality. Let him face reality on his own terms. I will not pay his fine, I will not bail him out. Whatever sentence you give him, he serves it. If he goes to jail, he goes to jail. For the first time since walking in, the smirk is completely gone from Julian's face. Panic is setting in, he looks small. The hoodie that looked cool 5 minutes ago now just looks childish. Dad, please, Julian whispers. They'll put me in with, I can't go to jail. Judge Caprio watches the dynamic. He sees the father's heartbreak. He sees the son's terror. This is the moment. Julian, Caprio says softly. Julian looks up, his eyes wide. You told this court that the truth is whatever gets the most views. You told Officer Miller that his suffering didn't matter because it was content. Do you still believe that? I didn't mean it like that, Julian stammers. You meant exactly that, Caprio corrects him. You used technology to lie, you used your privilege to punch down, you thought that because you can manipulate pixels, you can manipulate people. But look around you. Caprio gestures to the wood-paneled room, the flag, the officer, the father. This is real, that man's pain is real, your father's disappointment is real, there is no edit button here, there is no undo. Julian looks at Officer Miller. I'm sorry, he mutters. Look at him, Caprio commands. Julian turns fully to Miller. I'm sorry, I didn't think it would get that bad. That is the problem, Caprio says. You didn't think, you didn't care. You treated a human being like a prop. Caprio looks at the father, Marcus. Mr. Thorne, you have done a very difficult thing today. Many parents would have written the check and looked the other way. You have chosen to parent your son even though it hurts. I respect that. Caprio looks back at Julian. I am not going to send you to jail today, Julian. Julian lets out a breath, his knees almost buckling. But Caprio raises a finger. I am not letting you go either. You are going to learn what the real world looks like. Here is my ruling, Caprio announces. The court reporter types furiously. First, the fine for the speeding and reckless driving is $500. You will pay that yourself, not your father. If you don't have the cash, you will work it off. Second, Caprio continues. Regarding the charge of disorderly conduct and the falsified evidence, I am sentencing you to 500 hours of community service. 500, Julian gasps, that's months. It is, Caprio agrees. And you aren't going to be picking up trash in a park. I am assigning you to the Providence Cybercrimes Victim Unit. You are going to sit in the intake office. You are going to listen to the phone calls from elderly people who have lost their life savings to scammers. You are going to listen to parents whose children are being bullied online. You are going to see the damage that digital pranks and fraud cause to real human beings. Caprio lines in. And you are going to write a personal letter of apology to Officer Miller's family. Not a text, not an email, a handwritten letter. And you are going to read it to them in person if they are willing to hear it. If you fail to complete 1 hour of this service, Caprio warns, his voice dropping to a gravelly whisper, I will revoke this suspended sentence and you will spend 6 months at the adult correctional institution. Do you understand me? Julian nods. He looks humbled. He looks like a 19-year-old kid who just realized the world is bigger than himself. I understand, Your Honor. Officer Miller, Caprio asks, do you accept this?